It is 10:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first Titans injury report of the week came out on Wednesday. Nate Davis, Bud Dupree, and David Long among the players that did not practice. Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, and Rashawn Evans among the limited participants. Team returns to the practice field today, preparing for Sunday's AFC South matchup with the Houston Texans. College basketball, Vanderbilt was outscored 25-15 in the second half in a 48-37 loss to VCU, shooting just over 22% from the floor. It's the first loss of the season. Vandy will look to bounce back Saturday at home against Winthrop. And a big win for Lipscomb on the road at Dayton, 78-59 to improve to 4-1. Hassan Asadullah led with 21 points and was 9 of 13 from the floor. It's a Super Bowl 51 rematch in Mercedes-Benz Stadium tonight on Thursday Night Football. The Patriots, having won 4 in a row, face off with the 4-5 Atlanta Falcons. Kickoff at 7:20. Westwood One will have it right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome in on this Thursday. 104.5 The Zone, Buck Reising, here with you till 1 o'clock. We got Lucas Panzica making things happen behind the scenes. There's a little bit of tension between Lucas and myself. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point throughout the course of the next 3 hours. We're happy to have you along for the ride. Welcome back. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045. A lot to get to. Kristian Fulton is going to be here at 11:45. Trent Dilfer, former NFL quarterback and now the head coach at Lipscomb Academy, will be here at 12:20. Good guests, great conversation. That's what we're going to do until 1 o'clock today, and then Blaine and Mickey and 3HL will do the exact same thing. I want to start, though, with something that I feel like we haven't talked about it in a while, and I feel like we need to do a temperature check on how everybody's feeling without Derrick Henry from time to time. Like, I think it's just a wellness check, since so much of your lives, typically during football season, is centered around this one man. I think it's okay to, kind of make sure that everybody's doing okay and kind of, basically do the same to the football team, kind of gauge where they're at without him through the last couple of weeks. And it was something that I've been getting a lot of questions about as far as, how's Derrick doing and where's Derrick at and will he be on the sidelines at games coming up? And the answer is I don't know quite the answer to that question. But this was also something that Mike Vrabel is going to get asked about as well. And it's something that we've kind of gotten away from during press conferences. And basically, we're talking about this because the offense needs to do more. You need to get more out of the players that you have left, and you understand what the situation is on the injury report. You also have to understand that they have to find ways to look better than they have, play better than they have, and then execute better than they have outside of the red zone where they've been really strong even without Derrick. So we're going to talk a lot about that today and what this kind of presents against the Houston Texans, which is a very easy game to overlook. Completely understandable if you're peeking ahead to Thanksgiving weekend right now, where it's at New England. It's Mike Vrabel versus Bill Belichick. It's Mac Jones, who's coming off at this point 4 straight wins and a defense that's playing a lot better football right now. Easy to look past the 1-8 Houston Texans. But it's not something that they are playing well enough to be able to do. Should they beat them? Without question. There should be nothing that stands in the way outside of catastrophe, which can happen in this sport. There is no reason that the Titans can't handle the Texans with relative ease on Sunday. But they have to do better than they have the last 2 games on the offensive side of the football, given how weak the Texans are on the opposite side of the ball. So Mike Vrabel, he does the Mike Vrabel show every Monday night. Mike Keith hosts it with him. They take fans' calls and questions and tweets, which delights me to think that Mike Vrabel and Mike Keith are just scrolling through Twitter timelines and, maybe taking an odd shot at Luke Worsham for something nasty that is tweeted about how the Titans look on special teams lately. You know what I'm saying. So Mike Vrabel's asked about Derrick Henry on Monday night, and this is the last status update that we've had about Derrick and his progress after the Jones fracture surgery.
I would say good. I see Derrick. Derrick comes in. Once our day started, gets his rehab, works with Todd. And I know that he's doing everything that he can to get back as soon as he can. And I don't know when that will be. I know that Derrick has no idea when that will be. And so, he'll like he does everything else, work as hard as he possibly can to get back. And when he's ready to go, then we'll have to make a decision.
So, that's basically the same line that we got right after he got injured, right? I know that Derrick's going to work as hard as he possibly can, and Derrick, the difference being that Derrick is apparently around the facility nowadays. I don't know if he's going to be on the sideline. I don't imagine he would be on the sideline. I'd imagine they'd have him up in a box somewhere if he wants to come to the games right now. And he may not. I don't know that he doesn't want to go. I don't want to assign that to Derrick unfairly. But, I don't know necessarily that that's the first thing that he wants to do after he's recovering from his surgery. But I look at this point at Adrian Peterson, Deontay Foreman, and Jeremy McNichols in spurts. And it's not just them that's not good enough at this point. The offense collectively as a whole isn't good enough. They're very beatable at this point, despite the 6-game win streak. You can have all the confidence in the world. You can have all the belief in the world. You can put together the perfect plan in place the week leading up to a game and still find ways to lose in any given week for any given NFL team. That's the line, right? Any given Sunday. You can lose to a 1-8 Houston Texans team. The question is, how do you avoid doing it? And the thing that we've seen through the last 2 weeks that needs the most course correction is the running game without Derrick Henry, the lack of explosive plays, and frankly, just the offense in general. Tannehill's doing fine. It's not good enough. The offensive line is doing fine. It's not good enough. Adrian Peterson looks below average. He's a 36-year-old man. He's being chased around by giant 300-pound defensive linemen. I'd kind of look like, I wouldn't look like that. I'd look much, much worse and less athletic. I thought Adrian Peterson had some nice cuts on Sunday. It looked better than the Rams, but what I'm saying is it's not good enough at this point. And I think that's something the coaching staff understood too, because you saw Deontay Foreman take more of the carries this week. The efficiency still isn't there, but it's better if Peterson is your backup at this point. Now, what Adrian Peterson has done best over the course of his career is thrive on volume. And Greg Cosell, we'll hear from Greg later on in the show because we taped a episode of The Install yesterday where we kind of look at what kind of problems the Titans offense as a whole is having right now and how much you can actually attribute it to the fact that Derrick's simply not there. And there's quite a bit of it, obviously, when you don't have game-changing players on the offensive side of the football. So what I want to know from you guys coming up next, 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. What do the Titans need to do on offense other than score more points that will make you feel better about the trajectory that they're on against the Houston Texans on Sunday? What do you need to see legitimate improvement from them? If you had to pick one area, whether it's pass blocking, whether it's how quick Tannehill gets rid of the ball, even though I tell you he's doing it very, very well right now. There's only 6 quarterbacks getting rid of the football faster than Ryan Tannehill. Average running yards per game. What do you want to see more of? They've been good in the red zone, but they've been wretched, frankly, on third down. And we'll talk about those numbers coming up next. What one area do you need to see the Tennessee Titans improve on against the Houston Texans that are an outright bad defense? And one that you're going to be judged very critically against if you look the way that you have looked the past 2 weeks against better opponents. We'll do that on the other side. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel, again, Greg Cosell, and Ryan Tannehill. I'm Buck Reising. This is 104.5 The Zone. This seems fitting for today. Usually Thursday got a little more juice on a thirsty Thursday, but this weather, man, after yesterday, 70 degrees, it was beautiful out at St. Thomas Sports Park for some Titans practice, even though there was just nobody practicing. Although, injury report looked a lot shorter yesterday. Spicy. That's basically the best news that you can have on a week-to-week basis as far as your football team is concerned. How much shorter is the injury report, if at all, from the week before? And this is the first time in a while that it's felt like the Titans have had some breathing room. Now, maybe that's because there's just half the team on IR. But at this point, you look for positives and just trying to get this roster through and up to the bye week. Because these next two, while they may not look like the toughest of tests, even though that Patriots game, which we'll spend some more time on later in the show, Patriots are at Atlanta tonight for Thursday Night Football. And, of course, they'll have a bye before they play the Tennessee Titans coming up, or a long week, rather, not a full bye week, but a few extra days of rest. I'm looking at this and saying, all right, the offense, this is not good enough through two games. 2-0, great. It's not pretty, but it's beautiful. Love it. I love that for you. Very happy for you. Now we're through that, on to the next. Make the offense look and feel and play and execute better. I saw a thread yesterday from Ben Baldwin of The Athletic of all the drops that the Titans had last week. And it's not just A.J. Brown, right? It's Jeff Swaim, who maybe you want to call it a pass defense, maybe you want to call it a drop. You need a tight end that can make contested catches. And right now the Titans, they don't have that with great consistency. You have Jeremy McNichols on third down, throwing a very catchable ball, just lets it bounce off his hands. You can't have that if your sole role is going to be the third down back in this offense. That's what he's there to do. Now, not everybody's going to have a great week at work. I don't have a great show every day, even though in my own head I talk myself into thinking that I've had a great show every day. You're going to approach that as if, the last play doesn't matter. But when it starts to snowball on you, then it very quickly becomes the difference between you handling the New Orleans Saints without their starting quarterback, running back, and left tackle with relative ease into, we're a 2-point conversion away from watching the Titans play their fourth overtime of an already expanded regular season. More football in a year where there's as much football as there's ever been. That can't be good for the bodies on the roster. And that's what it's all about at this point. How can you maintain the most amount of talented bodies on the roster? Without Derrick Henry, life is different. We've asked you guys, and we'll go to the phones here in a second. 615-737-1045 is how you tell us what one area you want to see the Titans improve upon against a Texans team that I think it's fair to say most of us don't think much of at this point, even though I personally root for the story of Tyrod Taylor because of the way that he had his lung punctured by a erroneous NFL medical staff with the Chargers. The Titans in the last 3 weeks, right? So this counts Derrick Henry. They have been performing well below their third down conversion percentage of 40.6% per game. 36.59 are the Titans on third down, and it's been made to look much worse in the last 2 weeks without Derrick Henry specifically. Now, it's not just Derrick that's a part of that equation. We can talk through this because there's equal parts blame offensive line, wide receivers aren't healthy, who's getting separation, maybe nobody is. All right, A.J. Brown has a great game against the Indianapolis Colts, and then all of a sudden you go against Jalen Ramsey. He makes some plays against you, but also you have some drops. You come back and do the exact same thing against the Saints last week when they're not running out any kind of form of Jalen Ramsey. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. Let's go to Scott in Franklin up first on 1045 The Zone. What's up, Scott?
Hey, what's up, Buck? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Man, I want to talk about the offensive coordinator, Mr. Todd. I feel like, the last two games versus the Rams and the Saints, we were running the same offense that we had with Derrick Henry. Excuse me. And obviously it didn't work that great. So I think this game coming up versus the Texans is kind of a lax opponent, even though you can't think of it that way. But I'm ready to see them maybe try some different stuff, some different formations, kind of open up the playbook, have some sort of like imagination, because us just lining up and calling the Derrick Henry plays, smashing Adrian Peterson in there for a yard, or somebody else falling forward for a yard, it's not going to work, when it's all said and done. I appreciate it, Buck. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for the call, Scott. Here's what I'll say, right? Because a lot of those Derrick runs go for 2 or 3 yards, right? And then the difference between Derrick and Deontay Foreman and 36-year-old Adrian Peterson. Is it unfair of me to cite his name or his age every time I say Adrian Peterson's name? Am I doing something mean there to Adrian Peterson?
Not necessarily, but I think what's more unfair is the way you dunked on people for bringing up Le'Veon Bell when they did, in fact, bring in a 36-year-old Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, but Adrian Peterson has been better in recent memory than Le'Veon Bell has been. So, no, I don't feel bad at all about dunking on people. So, what do you mean? What are you non-committal about Adrian Peterson versus Le'Veon Bell?
I don't have Le'Veon Bell's last couple of years in front of me, so I'm not sure. But that is an impressive fact that if Adrian Peterson has actually been more productive at 36 than Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell hasn't been good in 4 years. Get the hell out of here with Le'Veon Bell to the Titans. I will not hear it. 615-737-1045 is how you let us know what you want to see the offense improve upon without Derrick Henry against that way right now. Not with any kind of consistency. You have teams who are focused on volume running, like the Titans, like the San Francisco 49ers. I think Jimmy G on Monday night was like 15 of 19 for 2 touchdowns and 182 yards. Like, he wasn't doing anything crazy. They were just putting him in positions to succeed and maximize the efficiency of the quarterback. Then that sound talked about against this Texans team, because you can learn a lot about how good or how bad this Titans offense is going to be moving forward against a Texans team that just really doesn't have any kind of juice.
But if I could, I just want to speak to their defense for a moment, because the first part of the season, with Lovie Smith and his beautiful beard running this defense.
It's a great beard. It's a great beard.
Isn't it? It's a great beard, yeah. They played a boatload of cover 2, and that percentage has gradually decreased as the season has gone on, because it became cover 2. You go back years and years when Tony Dungy sort of brought cover 2 in, and it's all dependent on being able to get pressure with 4. Think of it this way. Pretty much every zone, but this is particularly true of cover 2, is built for the 3-step timing phase and the 5-step timing phase of a quarterback. 3-step drop, 5-step drop. If you get beyond the 5-step drop in terms of timing for the quarterback, the voids in the zones show up and the quarterback can make throws.
Right.
Okay. So zones are really built for the pass rush to get there after the 5-step drop timing phase. And what happened is they were playing a lot of cover 2 and they couldn't rush the quarterback.
Yeah.
So their cover 2 was getting eaten up. Now they've dropped significantly as the season has progressed in terms of their coverage percentage with cover 2. They've been playing more cover 1, and I don't think they're particularly great at that either, because they don't have people. So this will be an interesting game for the Titans. I'm not suggesting they're going to come out and toss it all over the yard and Tannehill's going to throw for 450, but this should be a game where I believe that they can do some damage throwing the football. And I think that this is in some ways going to be a little bit of a litmus test for where we're going with